Last game that we have to talk about, we have Auburn, who is 3-1, currently ranked 22nd in the nation, going on the road to take on LSU. LSU is a 3.5-point favorite. This game is going to be played on ESPN. Now, there are a lot of LSU fans who feels like this team should be ranked. This is the game to prove it, because ever since LSU lost to UCLA, haven't really heard that much about it. But they did have a pretty solid win against Mississippi State. Now you face Auburn. Now when you look at Auburn kind of has a little bit of controversy going on, because we don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Tigers in this game. We don't know if it's going to be Bo Nix or if it's going to be TJ Finley. Now, Bo Nix, I thought that Bo Nix would improve under Brian Harsin, but, he still hasn't really been all that great. And eventually against Georgia State, Brian Harsin got tired of him. He put in TJ Finley late in the third quarter and their win against Georgia State. So we don't really know which quarterback is going to end up trotting out here. Now, obviously, LSU knows a good amount about TJ Finley, because TJ Finley used to play for LSU. He started a couple of games for them last year, and then he ended up transferring out during this past year's offseason. So LSU knows a pretty good amount about TJ Finley and Bo Nix also. So really, I don't really think that, the advantage is going to be tilted in Auburn's favor when it comes to not knowing who the quarterback is, because I know there's going to be some Auburn fans who want to say, well, JT, LSU has to prepare for two different quarterbacks. Like, I don't really think that's going to be that big of a factor, because being honest, like, you look at the wide receivers for Auburn, they haven't really been great. And the wide receivers for Auburn have not played well, to the point that Auburn fired their wide receiver coach. So they got rid of their wide receiver coach. Their wide receivers haven't really been that great at creating separation. So pretty much Tank Bigsby is the majority of the offense for Auburn and the running backs that Auburn has. Now, the run game has been Auburn's strong suit. And you got to ask yourself, how does LSU game plan to stop Tank Bigsby and the talented running backs that Auburn currently has on their roster? And head coach Ed Orgeron was asked about this in his press conference. And the question that he was asked, he was like, okay, Coach Orgeron, we know how great Tank Bigsby is. How do you plan to slow him down? And then Orgeron basically said this, and I quote, he said that he runs with low pad level. He runs north-south. We're going to have to tackle him. We're going to have to get lower than him. We're going to have to gain tackle him. He possesses a problem. He possesses a innate ability to break through gain tackles and break through, arm tacklers per se. So we're going to have to be able to make sure that we can do everything to stop him, is pretty much what Ed Orgeron said. So pretty much what Ed Orgeron said in his press conference was, if we're going to stop Tank Bigsby, we're going to need an army, pretty much. And I'm really intrigued to see how LSU handles Tank Bigsby in the running game of Auburn, because the last time I saw LSU match up against a physical football team that liked to run the football, that was week 1, when they were defeated by UCLA. And UCLA had a lot of success running the football on this LSU defense. So I want to see just how much has this run defense for LSU improved from week 1 when they were first defeated by UCLA to this game against Auburn, because if they can slow down Tank Bigsby and the running game for Auburn, then this game drastically favors LSU, because you look at LSU, they have a very good pass rush. They currently lead the SEC in sacks with 18, and you also got to look at the fact that Auburn's wide receivers haven't really been all that great this year, and you have the controversy at quarterback. So when you look at Bo Nix, I feel like Bo Nix is most likely going to end up getting the start. I don't really know if Brian Harsin would start TJ Finley when this game is going to be a road game. It's going to be on the road. And you look at Bo Nix, he kind of has more experience than TJ Finley in these situations. So I expect him to roll with Bo Nix. But I wouldn't be surprised if he starts TJ Finley. I don't know that he's going to start Bo Nix. I'm just saying that if I had to predict who would be the starter going into this game, it most likely would be Bo Nix. But, quarterback isn't the whole entire issue. You also need some better play out of your wide receivers. Now, for LSU, their offensive line hasn't really been all that great this year, especially when it comes to run blocking. They're averaging a measly 2.9 yards per carry, and then Orgeron also addressed the run game. He said that if we're going to win this game, we're going to have to get more out of our run game because we can't rely on the passing game to do everything for us. Now, I definitely feel like if LSU can't get the run game going in this game, I still feel like they could beat Auburn throwing the football, because I think that a lot of people are overlooking Max Johnson. Like, I always see a lot of people talking about when Max Johnson is doing bad, but Max Johnson overall, from what I've watched, he's been pretty good this year. Okay, like, I think not enough people are giving Max Johnson the credit he deserves. You gotta remember, Max Johnson is still very young, okay, and he has improved a lot. So for me, I definitely am going to take the time to give Max Johnson the praise that he deserves for how he's performed so far this year, because Max Johnson, man, him and Boutte, man, are a pretty dynamic connection. And I know a lot of people are probably going to say, well, Keyshawn Boutte is always bailing him out. Like, Max Johnson has been fairly good this year, and I'm actually fairly surprised with how Max Johnson has played. But Auburn has a really good defensive line. So for LSU fans, I've been seeing a lot of you guys talk about how concerned you are about the offensive line going into this game. That definitely could be really big, which probably is why Ed Orgeron definitely made it to be known that, you know, LSU needs to improve in the run game department. And I definitely feel like the run game is going to be big, but I feel like if Max Johnson can get some time to throw the football and he's not running for his life and he actually has a clean pocket to throw out of, he's going to do a lot of damage to Auburn's defense. Now, if LSU can get Auburn into obvious passing situations, I feel like Auburn could get into a lot of trouble. And if Auburn gets down in this game early, that's also going to cause them to be in trouble. Because listen, there are two ways to stop the run. You either shut it down, or if you can't stop the run, get up to a big lead early and force that team to have to throw the football to get back into the game. And that's going to be a really difficult task for Auburn, when you also got to take into the fact that not only are their wide receivers not playing well, but they're also are going to be on the road in a hostile environment. So I'm going to take LSU to get the win. I was really close to picking Auburn, but with, you know, how lackluster the wide receiver play has been, not really knowing what we're going to get when it comes to quarterback play, I don't really know the state of the Auburn offense. All I really know is that they have Tank Bigsby, they have a really good rushing attack, but I really feel like Ed Orgeron and this LSU defense, they're going to force Auburn to beat them throwing the football. At least that's what I would do. I would stack the box and I would dare them, and I would dare those wide receivers to make plays. So when I look at LSU, man, I'm going to take them to win. They're a 3.5-point favorite. I think they cover. Give me LSU 27-17 is my final score prediction in this game. Go Tigers.